Namaskar and welcome to Startup Champions. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. In a short span of 5 years, India has emerged as one of the leading startup ecosystems in the world. There are over 50,000 startups operating in the country as we speak. At an average that about 2 to 3 startups are beginning their journey every day. The startups who are joining us today are doing revolutionary work in diverse sectors, from ending manual scavenging to creating organic dyes, to presenting technology-enabled educational counseling. Very happy to introduce you to the startups who are joining us today. Let's welcome them with a round of applause, shall we? We have with us Gen Robotic Innovations. Co-founder Rashid is joining us from Kerala. Warm welcome to you, Rashid. Our second startup, Azuka Labs. Alex is joining us from Karnataka. Warm welcome to you, Alex. And our third startup of the day, Bodhami co-founder Ashutosh is joining us from Goa. A big round of applause for our startups, and also all the audience members. We look forward to the questions that you have to put to the startups as we move ahead in the program. Let's at this point also meet the mentor who is joining us in the program. We have with us Revathi Ashok, angel investor, co-founder, Strategy Garage. Warm welcome to you, Revathi, to our program. She's actively involved in women's economic empowerment, helping startups with business strategy, promoting transparency and good governance. It's great to have you in the show, Revathi.
It is such a pleasure to be with you, Shubhendu, and your team. And this is a fantastic program. I'm delighted to spend the next few minutes with you on this session.
Great. Revathi, we'd like to begin with your perspective on the startup ecosystem in the country. In these recent years, how do you see has the infrastructure, the support, the opportunities for startup improved significantly in the country? How do you see it?
I'm very, very optimistic because I've been with the startup ecosystem for the last 10 years, and I have seen the rapid transformation in what is happening in the ecosystem. 10 years ago, you did not have these kinds of programs. You did not have that many mentors. You did not have all the facilities that we have. We did not have incubators. We did not have so many funds. So I think the entire ecosystem is undergoing a very, very transformative change. And this government has done a lot to make the startup ecosystem flourish. We still have ways to go. We have many, many issues to resolve. But I'm very confident that young India is going to make us all very proud, and we will have lots of innovations coming out of India.
Great. Revathi, look forward to engaging with you at different points in the program. Please do stay connected with us. And time now to talk about our first startup, Gen Robotic Innovations. Now, have you ever thought of cleaning somebody else's garbage? What it feels like to enter a dirty drain with poisonous fumes to clean it? No, we haven't thought about it really, because somebody else is doing that dirty job for us, sometimes with their bare hands. Manual scavenging in the 21st century is a matter of collective shame. It is not just about the presence or absence of technology, but it is also about empathy. But one startup with a golden heart is bringing about a unique transformation. Now, what Gen Robotics Innovations has done is that they've created a robot, as the name suggests, a machine that can bring an end to this practice. They are, of course, revolutionizing sanitation, but more importantly, they're restoring human dignity. Let's take a look at their inspiring journey.
The real-life hero, Iron Man, fights evil forces. And likewise, our real-life startup hero, Bandicoot Robot, fights the social evil of manual scavenging. The problem of manual scavenging has been ignored for decades now, not just by developing, but also by developed countries. But the founders of Gen Robotics took up this challenge to fight against this inhuman practice.
We are passionate in robotics and we are also working in it. Why can't we use robotics itself to help the society?
This should be solved as early as possible because people are dying every day.
People are now even sending robots to Mars and they are controlling it from here. It's not a problem. So going down 3 meters down the line, why still it is a problem? If you look at sanitation, we are still using conventional technology, which is, which we designed or engineered in hundreds of years back. And even the manholes, in the sewerage system, still it is calling manholes because it is designed for human being to enter into it.
The team of 4 came together during college projects, but their passion for robotics and dedication for this noble cause led to the birth of the startup. With constant upgrading of the Bandicoot versions, this manual scavenging robot has become more reliable in performance and user-friendly. Gen Robotics has been training the erstwhile manual scavenging workers as the Bandicoot operators, thus addressing the concern of job losses in sanitation sector.
We build this robot where it has a robotic arm, same like a human arm. It can do all the actions like inside the manhole we need to scrap the waste, so picking, scrapping, all the things can be done using this arm. And we are given other features for the flexibility, like the robot has 4 legs also, so it can move around the manholes, and also it has a container bucket system which grabs the waste and coming up. And for vision, the human use vision for that, so we introduce sensors and cameras so we can see inside the chambers.
कोई जहरीली भी गैस आ जाती है, कोई वैसी भी गैस आती है, उससे क्या है कि हमें डर भी लगता था, लेकिन अब कोई डर की बात नहीं है, अब तो सिर्फ रोबोट जाता है, रोबोट ही काम करता है.
Gen Robotics started as a company based in small rented apartment and is now looking forward to expanding its production in tech parks and also diversifying its products.
When we started trying to start a business, people started to think that it is only because of they did not get any job, or maybe it is like he's mad, or maybe it is a particular thing that only rich people can have, not from the poor people. They cannot even think like that. So even my family is very much pushing towards me to take a job.
At that time, there was a lot of rejections from family to quit the job and all.
Morning I will be on work and I will get the payment and all for my work, and then I started to use that as a fuel for the research that I was doing in the social things.
The happiness of his family was one of the moment that I never forget, because seeing that person from a manual scavenger to an robotic operator was something that we did, and our product was on site. So this was one of the moments that I never forget.
When innovation meets empathy, solutions to the gravest problems can be found. Bandicoot may help in finally putting a stop to the age-old exploitative practice of manual scavenging. India is a country of many firsts, from developing the world's first drainage system to inventing the world's first sewer well cleaning robot. At Gen Robotics, our startup champions strive for a Swachh Bharat along with upholding the value of human dignity.
Together for Gen Robotics, and Rashid, co-founder, is with us. Rashid, brilliant, and I really think that this was a technology, a startup that was long due. Give us an insight into the lives of manual scavengers, the things that moved you and your team to create a product, a startup like this.
Sure. Thank you so much. So, by the way, actually we started as a student startup in 2015. At that time, me and my other co-founders, at that time we were friends. So we were thinking, okay, what we have to create? We need to create something with the technology, since we are doing the engineering in different streams. Right. So I'm personally doing the computer engineering, and my other colleagues doing mechanical engineering and different streams. So I thought of why we can't create something that is beneficial for the society. And initially we were working on different projects. But in 2016, we came to know an incident where 3 persons died in 20 minutes. So that incident actually put us as shocking to us. And the reason we searched, and we found that it is because of the manual scavenging. We are from a village where there is no such kind of this sewage or drainage, nothing is there, and it is like in a very clean village. So we don't know anything about that. But these news which has happened in a city, so we thought of okay, there is something behind that. We need to dig that problem. Right. And then we found that there is no particular solution which help the human to stay away from this manual scavenging. So we thought of, okay, why we can't create, and we also wondered why till this time, why there is no such solution. And we are living in a century where everything that we will get in our fingertips.
Absolutely.
And now we are sending the ships to space, and we are lot of things we are doing. So we thought of, okay, there is something now we have to do, and we have shifted our entire focus to a single project. And in 2017 itself, we registered as a private limited company, because we want to take our project into a nationwide, then to a worldwide, where we want to make an end to this manual scavenging.
Absolutely. So it's a great hope, your startup, Rashid. You know, we've also seen a pattern in which college friends who start a project that develops into a startup, and they become business partners, co-founders. How was the journey for you and your friends?
Yeah, it is really interesting, and so far we also feel like friends only. There is no such kind of a business relation that we will think between us. Whenever we think, if there is a problem also, we will internally discuss like a friends, and we will debate also ourselves. There will be a lot of quarrels will happen, but ultimately we will stay as a friend. So we don't feel any kind of boring in the company. We always feel like okay, it's a family, not like in a company always. So it is more like okay, we have to rush and we have to go heights.
Right.
So it's like a single vision that is driving towards the heights.
It's a very nice work culture. Let's also get a perspective from our mentor. Revati, the journey of Gen Robotics really seems to be about the manner in which empathy meets innovation. How do you look at the achievements that they've made?
I think this is a phenomenal project. I really compliment the Gen Robotics team on having conceptualized something like this, having the vision to look at something. Just to give you the scale of the problem, today we have about 180,000 households doing manual scavenging in this day and age. I mean, it's shocking. We are sending people to the moon, we are sending people to space, but we are not able to find an answer for something like this. And empathy is absolutely right. Now, the fact remains that all businesses that are so important may not 100% have an immediate monetization model, because the government has to come forward and support a lot of these initiatives. And they cannot always look at it just as with a profit motive. There also has to be health impact, social impact. All those issues have to be considered. And this is such a caste-driven area. There are so many angles to this particular project that I could keep talking about it, but I think I will allow the mentors to allow the team to speak now. But it is really impressive. It will take a lot of hard work to find good monetization models, and government has to come forward and support. The biggest issue is government is a very poor paymaster, and those are issues that we need to resolve.
Right, important point you mentioned there, Revati. Thanks for that perspective. Now, Rashid, this particular point where government could engage with you, because they've also expressed it as their priority to end manual scavenging. So in what manner do you think collaborations are positive? Give us an example of the manner in which your startup is working on the ground today.
So right now also, if you think about this manual scavenging, actually all these manual scavengers are hired by a contractor, and these contractors are working for the government entities. So basically the government also know that there is a manual scavenging still happens, and not only the government, even the Supreme Court and all the high courts have been mentioning that manual scavenging still happen and need to stop it. So but there is if you look at the law also, there is an MS Act 13 which says also a ban for this manual scavenging. But unfortunately, there is no such solution. There is no specific solution which end manual scavenging, and because of that reason, they are sending the people. So what we are looking also, the government have to promote such technology, and they have to say that even the government also given a mandate that these kind of technology should implement across their municipal corporation.
Absolutely. And Rashid, for now, what is the kind of revenue model, business model that you're working on for your startup?
Right now we are directly selling this robot to the corporation, because if we look at the economy point of view, it will be better for the corporations. And
Right.
because they will get the ROI within 1.5 years. That much time only they require. So the invested amount that they will get, and rest of the thing, whatever they are doing with the robot, that's a profit for them comparing to the manual scavenging.
Right.
So we thought of like, okay, that is the better model for them. And in the refineries, like there is a PSUs like ONGC refineries are there, BPCL refineries are there, and they also having this kind of sewage network. For them, we are providing the service because they don't have that much of a vast or a bigger network. It's very limited.
Right. And Rashid, what is particularly inspiring about your startup is that people, cleaners who had to earlier enter manhole drains to clean it, have now become operators of this fascinating machine. Tell us about that experience. What do they say to you when they do that?
So while we are creating the robot, we are having two visions. One is that and manual scavenging. And the second is that rehabilitate these existing manual scavengers to robot operators. Because while we are doing the research about the problem manual scavenging, we found a lot of shocking news. The first one we found that one person is dying every 5 days, one manual scavenger. So that is a terrific news. And right now also they are dying. If you take the calculation from January to March, total 17% died in India. That's like an official record. So apart from that, whoever doing this manual scavenging, 100% of them are addicted to this kind of alcohol because they're not able to enter into the manhole without that kind of seductions. Because these kind of alcohol, they will put it like an unconscious.
That's really tragic, and therefore all the more important that your startup finds more acceptance. Let's quickly take some questions from our audience members as well. Yeah.
So my name is Dipansh Kathuria. So my question for you is, I saw in the video that you four people were in college and even your parents were against it, and they were saying that you should join a job and do well in that. So how did you face this challenge emotionally and financially?
So that's a good question. Actually, we have gone through that phase. Actually, even I'm also working in a corporate, and because while after the college, during the college, that time itself, we are having good academic records. Because of that, we got in a campus selection itself, we placed in different companies. But when we started to take a decision, sometimes we have to cross the words of our parents as well. Sometimes we have to move away from that. Even personally, when I put the resignation, there is like a 1 month period that we have to sit in the office. Till that time, I didn't tell to my parents. And once I took the return ticket to my home, then I told my mom, "Mom, I'm coming to home. Actually, there is a problem." So, and I told them, "Ma'am, I'm not friendly with that place. I have some other vision." So they will be very, very angry with us. But the thing is, like, we need to say that give us like 1 or 2 years. We can put like some word like that.
Right.
And the second part, as you asked, that financial part. And right now, there is no worry for that kind of things, because right now there is a lot of government initiatives. Particularly, we have to say that about the grants that the government of India, with the help of the startup in India, they are providing. So we also received the first grant, which is like 10 lakhs from the startup mission from Kerala. And with that fund, we actually surged into the next level and we built the first version. And then the authorities, like whoever the first customer was Kerala Water Authority. So they also give the support. Then it will go like that. Then investments, fundraise, everything will happen gradually.
Great. And I hope your parents of all the founders are very proud of your startup, as we all are. Let's now talk about our second startup, Azuka Labs. Now, Azuka Lab is a dye making company, and dyes have a particular importance in medical research, in lab testing. Now, most of the dyes available in the market are synthetic in nature. They're also carcinogenic, which means that overexposure to them can cause serious illness. Now, what Azuka Labs has done is that they have replaced synthetic dyes and stains with organic and plant-based alternative. Now, these are also low-cost solution during the time of the pandemic. We've all learned that when testing and these research can become low-cost, become cheaper, healthcare as a whole can become more affordable. Let's take a look at their interesting journey.
Have you ever realized that behind most of the lab tests to diagnose critical ailments, there is a minuscule amount of dye which is required? The dye I'm talking about can also be called the gold of diagnostic sector, since it is very expensive and is mostly imported from other countries. Called tinto rang, this dye needs careful handling because of its hazardous chemical nature.
Because these dyes, when we come to the diagnostic segment, as we are importing most of these dyes, so there's always a 40% additional charge to these chemicals and reagents, and the cost of the tests are very high. So even if you see in the COVID-19 case, initially RT-PCR was at 3,000, 4,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees and so on. But with the indigenization of the diagnostic systems only, we could bring the price down. So I believe that because this is from India and there is a good price advantage, and there is only one monopoly of a US competitor which is supplying these dyes, it will definitely impact the common man by bringing all the molecular based diagnostic tests or nucleic acid test price at a affordable rate.
The idea was conceptualized during an academic research work by Dr. Fatima under the aegis of the Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. However, to get that innovation out from the research papers and make it a commercially viable product was the result of a collaboration with an old school friend, Alex.
I met Dr. Fatima where she was working on her PhD, where she was working as a postdoctoral research fellow. I found her PhD thesis to be very interesting. I told her that we should commercialize it and take it to market. So that's where a journey started. We didn't know what we were jumping into. We thought that it was going to be easy, but it was not. Luckily, we had the support from Society for Innovation and Development from Indian Institute of Sciences. They were able to give us a platform to build it as a product and make it quite strong enough to launch it to different market. It took around 5 years for us to make the product better for the global market and users.
The dye that this startup has created will not only be natural ingredient made, but it also has less cost. It is fast in production, and the test results are also quick. So soon we can hope that the dyes and the new innovation will be available across India and maybe globally also, which will be making this healthcare facility more affordable, accessible, easy and quick to the people.
Azuka Life Sciences was born in July 2015. Both Alex and Fatima were driven by a passion to learn and find solutions to a problem. A series of presentations and talks followed about the benefits of using organic dyes versus the synthetic dyes manufactured by large corporations. And then the product Tinto Rung came into being. The dye not only aims to revolutionize medical testing, but can also make the whole process fast, affordable and accessible. The cherry on the cake is that it is entirely made in India.
We put our hands together for Azuka Lab. And Alex Paul, co-founder, is with us. Alex, great work. Now, because it is a lot about pure sciences, if you could simplify for us a little and help us understand the importance of dyes in medical research and testing.
So I'll start with this before COVID situation.
Yes.
So before COVID, I think India had a lot of ELISA-based test, which is not molecular test, where the safety or the precision is not correct. So most of the developed countries had moved on to DNA-based testing and DNA-based medicine. So to give you, there are only 40 known compounds that are known to man that can bind to DNA and RNA, which is called nucleic acid in molecular biology. So this dye is actually monopolized by a company called Thermo Fisher Scientific. There is only one company in the world that sells these dyes. So during the pandemic, what happened was the price of the dyes went up to around 74,000. That's more than the cost of an iPhone, or for that matter, diamonds. Right. So the product looks like this. So this is the product size. I've got the product with me. So it's only 500 microliters, that are roughly 6 drops. Right. So 6 drops is 70, yeah. So such an expensive product makes it, such expensive chemical makes it, the diagnostic products and the research use products very expensive, because of the children in schools are not able to learn about DNA at an early age. Schools and colleges don't have access to these kind of chemicals.
So for this chemical costs about 70,000, you're saying, in the market, and you've reduced the price to 15,000 rupees.
Yeah, so we are trying to, because it's entirely built in India, we are trying to price it in that range.
I think that's a great achievement. If you can put our hands together just on that point.
Yeah.
And Alex, it's called Tinto Rang.
Yeah.
Tell us something about the name. What does that mean?
So I used to work for a software company. I'm not from molecular biology, by the way.
Achha.
I used to work for a software company where I used to travel to different countries and consult to customers. The company is called Zoho. It's based out of Chennai, Tamil Nadu. And when I traveled, I found out that most of the time when you travel abroad, people say that India is known for its cheapness or it's a project-based things. There were no products from India. So we want to do a molecular biology product that is premium, that is really has quality rather than cheap being the only advantage. So we built, so when I met my schoolmate, Dr. Fatima happens to be my schoolmate, I saw the potential to be a global product. So Tinto stands for red, Rang stands for color, so it's a red color dye. So we wanted to give global names with the Indian names with a global touch. So all our products have those things. So primarily these dyes are very, very important and are used every day. So it is used non-stop, especially in times of COVID. If you see PCR and RT-PCR kits, the main component of these kits are these dyes. And right now the prices varies between 65,000 to 74,000, and we are actually planning to make these kits in India, making it affordable for the testing. And also once we succeed in the Indian market, we are planning to, we already have patents from US, Korea and Japan, which already have granted.
Right.
So we are planning to expand to the global market.
That's amazing. You mentioned about your co-founder Fatima, and also let me inform our viewers that your startup won the National Startup Award in 2020 in a special category, women-led startups. Tell us a little about that. Fatima also happens to be your friend and colleague. How was it to work in a startup with women in leadership position for which you were awarded? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think it's great. So first, I think what happened was we wanted to bring the product out, and it was based on her PhD research. The product was, and we had to do some commercial activities to bring it out in terms of filing the patent. In terms of that, I think being women-led entrepreneur is, she's the chief scientific officer. She chose not to lead the company because of her interest in the lab, what she wants to do in the lab, and all her research. She is mentored by Professor Savitri, who is again a molecular biologist and a virologist from Indian Institute of Science. So I think the best part is the women lead the enterprise. They take care of all the smaller nuances better. Men are very bad at that. So I think it's better run.
Right, great. And let's also get a perspective from our mentor. Revati, well, that's an area of expertise, women-led enterprise. How do you see the journey of Azuka Labs and the manner in which they're really working on lowering the cost of healthcare, which is so crucial in times that we live in? Yeah,
I think the choice of this startup again is really amazing. There are so many good things about this. It is again something which is so socially relevant, that you are creating dyes which are non-toxic. It's phenomenal that this is based on a research thesis by a woman, and we have so much research in our country which is not taken to commercialization, and therefore this kind of partnership to take all this research and brilliant ideas that people have and translate them into real life commercial opportunities is something phenomenal. The third part is they have global ambition, and that's fantastic to hear that they are right from the beginning looking at global ambition and looking at price points which are very, very attractive and make them not only competitive in India, which is very important, and they make themselves very, very globally competitive. So kudos to the team. I think they've done a super job. I hope a lot of companies, a lot of investors come forward to offer funding, because the next challenge is really funding. When you move out of the lab and want to start scaling up, the problems start because the investors sometimes have a very different mindset.
That's right.
Sometimes
on that point, Revati, in fact, we wanted to learn more from you. You know, as you just mentioned, that there's so much research going on in India, but not every research becomes a successful startup. As far as such investments in pure sciences is concerned, what is the scene like? How should Azuka Labs go forward with that?
Yeah, it is quite challenging. You know, I myself am working with so many other founders who have worked for 7-8 years on a product, and now they want to commercialize. The product is ready. They have done some initial testing. and it works. And then to start raising money for that is a challenge. And I would really say that government needs to focus on such innovative companies that are solving real life problems, and there must be focus and special funds for these kinds of things. It's not easy for very science driven projects to get funding. The number of investors are fewer. A lot of them are going after low hanging fruits. They are taken in by the lure of the e-commerce and many more such startups which seem to be able to scale very fast. But we as a nation must believe that if we want true innovation, which is science-based, then we need to build investor communities which have a very long-term view of some of these things, because it will take time for the market to scale. It is not going to be like an e-commerce startup.
Right. Thank you, Revati, for that perspective. And Alex, from you, we'd like to know about that journey. You have a really amazing product at hand, but how was it getting that initial investment, making it commercially successful? You're also going out of India to different countries. Tell us a little more about that journey. What challenges are you facing at the moment?
So first, in terms of getting the product recognized or acknowledged, I think for the first year we had a very difficult time in people understanding a product. Luckily, we got support from Indian Institute of Sciences, who helped us incubating the, because it takes a long time to do the test and the stability and all that. It took around 5 years for us to stabilize the product itself. So luckily we had ISC's shelter, so we were incubated by ISC for the past 5 years. So at this point of time we were able to perfect the products. Yes, in terms of funding, India does not, most of the investors do not invest as
the mentor,
as the mentor said, that it is important that people should fund. There are virtually no investments for biotech. Okay, so most of them bet on app-based startups or e-commerce-based startups where the gestation period is only like 3 years, whereas in a science-based or an IP-based startup, it takes around 5 to 7 years for us to hit the market. So it is very important for patrons to come over, or science patrons to come over and to set up a fund in terms to do that. So what we did was we hit grants, all the contests that had cash prizes. We actually specifically hit on all these to get a runway. And apart from that, ISC was a big help in terms of getting the funding. So I think that is a big challenge. Even today, if you want to get any investment in life sciences or on biotech, you have to go to Singapore or to the US. So there is no other choice. If you want to raise especially more than any 3 to 5 million ticket size, you must either go to, every investor actually advises you to go to Singapore or to the US. So that's a sad part to see, because that will actually take away the growing Indian ecosystem to another country. So it is very important for patrons to come over and set up a biotech vehicle, or especially because biotech has been booming, and especially at the time of medical crisis or an emergency, that becomes a very important platform for people to innovate.
Right. And let's also get some question from our audience members. If you have any question for Azuka. Yeah.
Namaskara, sir. Even I am from Bangalore.
Oh, great.
My name is Prajwal, and my question is, what was your contribution towards this pandemic situation, sir?
Yeah, so in the pandemic, we were part of ISC's COVID-19 response team. So the problem was there were a lot of VTMs, viral transport mediums, that were used that required cold storage. People had to store it after collecting of samples. You have to store the collected sample in a cold storage, and even transporting, you have to do chilled transport. We did something called as an RNA wrapper, which is a molecular transport medium, which is alternative for viral transport mediums, so that it can be stored in room temperature. So primary healthcare centers were not used during the pandemic because it did not have BSL facility or biosafety level facility. Using our product, every primary healthcare center could be turned into a processing center or a sample collection center. That is what we did for the pandemic. Great.
Let's now talk about our next startup, Bodhami. Now, Bodhami is a Sanskrit word. In English, it would mean acquiring knowledge. They're working in the area of career counseling, but you oversimplify career counseling. We'll understand it as perhaps helping a student decide whether he or she should become an engineer, an accountant, or a doctor. But what Bodhami is doing is really expanding the scope of it. They're using artificial intelligence for detailed skill mapping and aptitude testing. they're showing how not just in the final year of education, but also at different levels in school, in higher education, and even when you're a working professional, timely help with educational and career counseling can help you make the right choice. Let's take a look at that special journey.
70% of the professionals are not even happy with what they're doing because they're stuck in wrong professions. 95% of students or schools don't even have access to counseling basically, and they end up choosing wrong careers.
Traditionally, children have always made career choices with guidance from their parents, guardians or teachers. But times have changed and so have the variety of job and career options. Choosing the right career path has become nothing less than a big task.
In the city of sun, sand and beaches is brewing a startup that is helping students in schools in urban, semi-urban and rural areas through its AI-enabled personal career guidance platform to choose the right path in their careers.
Working in an MNC, Damodar and Ashutosh always wanted to start something of their own and try their hands at entrepreneurship. And their inspiration came from their mothers who were teachers and always would feel the need for right career counseling for their students.
Our mothers are teachers basically, so we wanted to do something back to the society, and we thought why not something like education. I always aspired to be an entrepreneur.
This inspiration led to the creation of Budhami, a startup that is a career counseling platform with aptitude testing and gives artificial intelligence enabled career reports.
We give a psychometric test to the platform where we ask skill related questions for the student. So the first part we monitor is skills basically, in terms of which skills you are good at. There are 14 skills we look at, and questions are based on the level at which the student is answering. The second thing what we do is measure the interest of the person, and the third thing we look at is the personality of the student. So these three culmination gives us an input to our system in terms of deciding which are the best careers. So wherever your skill is also very high, your interest is also very high. So that is typically are the careers which we recommend through our system.
We also have a plan in the near future to enable offline tests. This will enable more people in remote areas to take the test and get career reports even with no internet connectivity. Keeping in mind the linguistic diversity of our country, we have also enabled multilingual support so that every student can use the platform in their own native language.
Budhami got its first big breakthrough with the Goa government and was selected as one of the startups by Department of Education and SCERT to implement its career counseling program. And students across several schools use their laptops, desktops and smartphones to take the career aptitude test.
The Goa government program was a phenomenal experience because 20,000 students for the first time in their life getting career counseling, and for the first time answering something called as a psychometric test. So it was like a surprise moment for a lot of parents, a lot of teachers, principals and the students in themselves in terms of the experience.
Currently, Budhami has over 800 counselors in urban, semi-urban and rural areas of the country and has created nano-entrepreneurs through its platform.
Roughly around 850 counselors which we have onboarded in the last 1 year, around 60% of them are women. We are very proud to say that we have association with tier 2 and tier 3 counselors, right from remote places, for example, in Bastar, for example, and Ernakulam, for example. Across 100 cities we have counselors. A typical metro career counselor who does around 100 to 200 odd counseling can easily earn over ₹1 lakh. Typical counselor in a rural or a semi-urban area can roughly earn between 30,000 to 35,000 per month.
Budhami is also working in different domains of career counseling and professional courses, but its reach through career counselors to the remotest areas of the country gives hope, especially to the future of India living in villages, leading it to the right path with the right guidance and at the right time for a bright future.
Incredible work there done by Budhami. Shall we put our hands together for this brilliant startup? And Ashutosh Shankar, co-founder, is with us. Ashutosh, we're familiar with career counseling, but it's amazing how you've expanded the scope. How did you think of this as the subject of your work, of your startup?
So myself and my co-founder, we worked together around 3 years back in Wipro in the digital transformation area, and we work on the digital transformation of Fortune 500 companies, and we use all the advanced technology using artificial intelligence, data analytics, big data, IoT, to actually transform the way these organizations are working. And then we thought that why don't we apply this transformation to the core problems that India is facing, that people are facing on the grassroots. And we also came across a lot of people who we saw that they were not satisfied with the work that they were doing. Most of the career professions, and the data we saw is that 70% of career professionals are not happy with the work that they are doing. And another data which we saw was 80% of engineers in India are unemployable. So primarily there are two reasons. First is that the wrong career choices they are making, they are getting into wrong careers. And the second is the skill gap which exists between what the skills which are required for a given profession, for example engineer or MBA or any other profession, and the skills that those guys have, and what the market needs in the current time. So we had a vision of enabling the end-to-end learning, starting from understanding the persona, the 360-degree skills, and recommending the right skill gaps which exist in the person, and then providing the learning journey, for individual learning journey for the person. So this end-to-end journey we wanted to enable, and we started the work on that, and around 2019 January we went live, and after that in a very short span of time we have onboarded close to 900, it was 850 and right now it is around 900 in different parts of the country, around 24 states, 108 cities right now, covering from Srinagar to Ernakulam to Dibrugarh in Assam to places like Valsad in Gujarat. So across India in 108 cities we have now have career counselors who have been onboarded and trained by us, which using our career counselor program, and then we have around 25,000 students we have enabled on the platform.
Right, that's great, Ashutosh. And you know what is really good about your startup is that you're also showing the world it's never a wrong time to make the right decision, you know, from school to being a professional. So tell us also about a little, in simple terms, how does artificial intelligence adds that special touch to your career counseling, what you have to offer?
Right. So what the artificial intelligence does is that it goes through the profile of actual career professionals. We have close to 10,000 plus persona sets of actual career professionals who have given the aptitude test, and the artificial intelligence has used an algorithm which is an association algorithm which based on the data of these actual career professionals starts matching the skill profile of a new person or a new student or a career professional when the person writes the test. And it finds the most suitable career match based on this artificial intelligence algorithm, and then it finds out the skill gap which exists. If this is the right career for you, then what are the skill gaps which exist and how do you fulfill those skill gaps. So this entire journey of the test to the skill gaps to the career recommendations to the learning journey, end-to-end journey is enabled using artificial intelligence.
Right, and we also spoke to some students and teachers to learn about their perspective, their response to Bodhami. Let's listen into our special coverage of talking to teachers and students next.
Nearly 150 students last year took this test, and the different types of careers they have found out, even the new careers that are available now. Students, they could decide on their own. Earlier, parents used to decide a career for them.
This was the need of the hour, this kind of a program.
I had a lot of interest in music, and on an online platform like answering aptitude tests, I didn't expect it to show good, like I have passion in music, so it showed that as well, so I was very excited about it.
What happens is they get a clear understanding that it's not only the stream or it's not only the percentage, but it depends on what are my skills, you know, what I have interest in doing. So it's all that matters.
So we took the test and I realized that it really matched what I really liked. I had the report which said that I am interested in literature and language skills, and I was very confident about it.
Teachers and students think that there's somebody now who's listening and paying attention to all their skills and interests. Let's get a perspective from our mentor, Revati as well. Okay, there. Revati, we pride ourselves over the demographic advantage that India has, but that is one part of the story. The responsibility is also to show them the right direction. I think Bodhami is doing that. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. This is the need of the hour. We are, as a nation, we are so hierarchy bound that we think, there are certain professions which are more acceptable than certain other professions.
True.
What we sometimes fail to understand is that there is also something called aptitude. We may want to become an engineer or a doctor, but we don't want to work hard enough, or we don't have the aptitude for those kinds of things, or any other profession for that matter. So I think having an assessment is very, very critical. It is also important for students to reflect on what their capabilities are and where their interests lie. And there has to be a good match between capability and interest. Sometimes capability is one aspect and interest is another, and willingness to work and persevere to get to a certain level. So I think all these things have to come together, and Bodhami is doing a great job. Again, there are a number of edtech companies now because of the success of Baiju and Unacademy and all of them. So one has to really ensure that you differentiate yourself from the clutter, so everybody can understand what your differentiated offerings are. I'm sure there are other companies that are there in the space of career counseling. And when you work with AI, the other point that I would like to say is your AI is as good as your data sets are. If your data sets are not comprehensive and they don't have all variations, then you may get very biased results. So I think those are the kinds of things that you need to watch out for. But as a product, it's a great product, and I think it's very much required and solving a nation's requirement.
Great, Revati, thanks for that perspective. Really, product that is solving the need of the hour. Ashutosh, when Prime Minister Modi speaks about the Startup India mission, he talks about vision for youth to become a job creator instead of job seeker. Now, what you're doing is also incredible. You're creating almost a team of nano counselors. There's some 800 of them, as you mentioned, who are spread across the country. Tell us about that, empowering the next generation of counselors to really take your message to the ground level.
Yeah, so one of the problems that we saw that India has close to 35 crore students right now at the higher secondary level, till the higher secondary level, and 95% of the schools don't have career counselors, which means there's a huge gap in the market in terms of what the students need and what we are providing as a nation or as a society. So we identified that we can actually train the people on the ground who can become good career counselors, people who are already into teaching, who are into psychology, who are into corporate HR kind of background. They can actually become very good career mentors. What they need to understand is the counseling framework, methodology, and they need a platform and technology to actually career counsel a student. And then using this entire career counseling framework and the program that we run, we enable these to become career counselors and start earning as a micro entrepreneurs or nano entrepreneurs, as you said. Right now we have around 900 people who are already certified. They are already counseling students in different across 24 states. And we are also expanding internationally. So we already have a setup in UAE, in UAE, the part of the UAE.
And just an important bit, Ashutosh, that the manner in which you're taking career counseling to also tier 2, tier 3 smaller towns and cities, because usually we would look at career counseling as an urban phenomena. So that is a crucial point.
Definitely. So what we are doing is that 50% of our career counselors are in big and metro cities, and almost 50% are in small and rural sector.
Right.
So what we have done is that we have kept the entry point as a career counselor, the prices as very low, so that more and more people can enroll, and the right people can get complete the program and get certified as a career counselor, and then they can start the career counseling. As I was telling you, right now in 108 cities we have got career counselors, and in almost 50% of our counselors coming from rural areas who are counseling in the rural areas to the students. For example, some of the programs that we run in Goa, a large part of it was run for the rural part of Goa.
Right.
And a platform is such that it can be used on any of the devices, on a laptop, on an iPad or phone, and we are also going to enable the offline mode of taking the test and doing the counseling.
And in brief, if you can tell us, Ashutosh, about this sort of business model that you follow, how do you earn your revenue in the startup?
So we have B2B, B2B2C and B2C, all the three models. So one is this entire career counseling, which is for the students as well as for the counselors. Then we have the employee recruitment platform, which is a scientific platform for employee recruitments, which again uses the AI algorithms and then functional suitability analysis.
Right.
Then we have the employee learning platform, where actually companies can find out how suitable my employees are for a given role and what are the gaps and how those gaps have to be fulfilled.
Right.
So that is the third one. Right. And then we also have a learning management LMS platform, where we provide the entire e-learning and the LMS for the
Right.
teachers.
Ashutosh, also in the journey of every startup, we understand the support of the family becomes very crucial. We could speak to somebody who knows the founders very well. Let's take a look at that.
I was a teacher, so I'm very happy. So whatever he takes up now, he never gives up. And that is his courage, what he has shown.
I was 100% sure that he would definitely do well, because I know him as a person. He is very hardworking and is very determined.
My reaction was that he was successful for one reason, that he was always going through the deep in the subject matter, and he succeeded there. When I read the news, I was very joyful, because that was in Goa, that was the first time.
Proud parents of the founders. Let me also turn to the audience members. And we have, in fact, Rahul here, who has a startup of his own. He's an entrepreneur himself. Rahul, tell us in brief about your journey and what question would you have for Bodhami?
Hello, this side Rahul from AdLife, founder of AdLife. I just want to have a question with Ashutosh regarding the biggest problem with career counseling with the parents. Because sometimes parents used to impart that the knowledge they are having to their kids. They become that's a barrier for them.
मेरा बेटा मेरी बेटी तो इंजीनियर या डॉक्टर ही बनेगी. So interesting question there. How do you deal with that challenge?
Definitely, we have right from the beginning we have seen this problem, because parents sometimes try to impose their view on the child, and when you look at the career counseling or the AI report which comes out, if it is matching with what they want, then they believe that it is correct. Otherwise, they believe that there is something wrong with what is coming here. So we have to show a lot of data points to them in terms of the credibility of the platform, how the platform is providing the correct results, what kind of research has gone into building this platform so that the accuracy of the platform is correct, and then also in terms of capturing the interest of the students who are taking, apart from the skills, also the interest, and then based on the interest, the skill and the persona, all these three frameworks, we provide our recommendations. The algorithm provides the recommendations, so that the correct recommendations comes out, and parents are also agreeable to that.
Right. Great. Now, it's been really great to learn about the journey of each of the startups. Before we close, we'd also like to learn from you, from each one of you, about that central wisdom, that inspiration that kept you going when going got difficult. What was that theme, that vision that kept it all alive inside of you? If you can start with you, Rashid.
Best or the first motivation always that giving to us is about the other people, the smile on other people, and the words from other people. So I will put in a simple example of whatever the experience what I have received from the field. Once we given the robot to a family, and family means like this man was scavenging,
Right.
and they started using, and after that in a program we have called for the program also, and I was there personally. So after the program, one of that elder lady, so she came to me and with her family, and saying that we will never forget you, and our entire caste will remember for you ever. So these kind of simple words.
That's beautiful. I think that really
Yeah.
makes the day and the life of people. Alex, what central wisdom would you like to share with all the people watching this program?
Yeah, I think the early years are very difficult because everybody was questioning you, saying that why didn't you take a shorter route to money than the longer route. So I think even for us at a point of time when we were actually making the product and there was some shortage of cash, we eventually planned to even hit on the snooze button for a while. But eventually what happened was, one of the investors asked this question: the product is great, but will the customer really pay for the product? Because only then we can make a financial success about it. We just went and shared it with our group of users, saying that if you really don't pay for the product, because everybody uses the free version or the free sample, it's very difficult when you ask them for the money. But we asked the customer saying that, will you really pay for the product? And it was before the demonetization. A lot of them had sent us money, literally saying that I would pay money for the product, and they had sent it in covers.
Amazing.
They'd given it, although we were not able to encash it, but that was the customer love that keeps us going.
Amazing. And Ashutosh, given all the challenges, including Indian parents, what kept you going?
So when we started, when we were interacting with the Indian students specifically, we saw that there's a lot of gap in terms of what they want to do in life and where they have landed up. And this can cause, a lifelong unhappiness to them. So primarily for us, and primarily for students coming from the rural and urban areas, they had a lot of difficulties in making decisions. So we wanted to make a difference to their life so that they can get into the right career. They have the right skills to get successful in their career and live a successful life and improve the overall livability index in the country. So this is the primary motto that we had. And I would say that there's a quote from Swami Vivekananda, which says one should take risk in life, because if you succeed, then you can lead, and if you fail, then you can guide others. So with that, that motivated us, and with that, keeping that in mind, we continued to work.
Wonderful. I think each of your journeys is an inspiration example for a lot of young entrepreneurs and startups watching this program. And talking about Startup Champion, let's also take a look at the kind of impact this program has been making. A special clip for you.
Hi, I'm Gokul Srinivas, founder and CEO of Untitled Labs. Thank you Doordarshan and Startup India for providing us a national-wide coverage. Indeed, we got a good number of inquiries through phone calls and emails, which is a good business acceleration and also acceleration for our goal to save energy for India. Thank you.
So that was the impact of Startup Champions. And on that note, let me thank all the startups who joined us in the program. Rashid, Alex, Ashutosh, thanks very much. If we can put our hands together for the brilliant startups of India. Thank you to our audience members. Let me also thank our mentor, Revati, who is with us and gave us all the important perspective. Thanks so much, Revati. It was wonderful having you in the program.
Thank you, Subhendu. It was a pleasure to interact with you and all the startups. They are doing amazing work. And I think this is the kind of innovation that will take India to the next level and show global leadership.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Revati. And you can also write to us. Tell us how you're enjoying this program. In case you want to connect to any of the startups, you can write to us at startup.india@gov.in. And with that, we conclude this edition of Startup Champions. Our journey will continue. Thanks very much for staying with us. A big round of applause. Thank you very much. We'll take your leave. Namaskar.